Hey there, Facebook business page. Hey there. Hope everybody is well. Sorry about that Facebook private page. I was moving around there. Alrighty. Okay, it looks like they are up too. Okay, so we are here at another Mom Moments Monday. Something that I started now 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago to take a deeper dive into my book that I wrote here. Of course, I always have to put it up. I love it so much. You know how sometimes when you write something or when you do something, initially you aren't as sure about it as you can be. You aren't as sure about it as maybe you even should be. I try not to use that word, but certainly as you could be. And because there's such a level of vulnerability about telling your story and where you are and providing your advice and best practices that have worked in your life, it leaves you out there for ridicule, for compliment, but for sometimes destructive criticism, all those things. Bottom line, it leaves you vulnerable. So when you first put it out, especially for me, while I thought I was feeling pretty good about it because I was very grateful to put this in a written form, to have something tangible that I would be able to go to and that I'd be able to send people to get more information and to have it in their hand, to refer to back and forth and have it as a resource. I was very grateful for that, but there was still, yes, Jennifer, yes, but there was still this level of uncertainty that was in me. But it's just been recently, and I think a lot of this comes with age, and I know I'm kind of talking before my talk, but this is very good information to me. But I think it's kind of come with age for me and just life circumstances and maturing and things like that, that I'm really getting more into my footing and more resolve in what it is, who it is that I am and what it is that I do. I've been reading my book for myself because as you go through ups and downs of life and business, you hit these things as you're climbing higher that you've never come up against before, or you may revisit something that you may have thought you neutralized or that you neutralized and got over, but it's time now to use those tools that I'm giving you here in this, that you've practiced on your own, all those things. And initially it's a trigger, right, to react a certain way or that old paradigm. But because we are better and we make concerted efforts every day to be our best selves, we use the tools it is that we know and the tools it is that we learn in books like this one, right? In my book. So in doing that, and I was just sitting down reading it really as affirmation. I just kind of go back through it for myself as a guidance piece, as a tool and a reference. And I was saying, wow, it's some good stuff in here that I can use in my life right now. This is encouraging me right now. And it made me feel really good about me going ahead, taking the leap and allowing myself to be vulnerable because I know that it helps other people. So let me ask you this. Has this been of help to you? Do you have the book? And if you have the book, has it been of good reference to you? Has this self-guided study been of value to you? Please let me know in your comments. Again, even if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and put that in. I know we have a slight delay here, but I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Hey, Kelly, I see yes and yes. I see it. I see you are saying you are listening and cooking dinner. I can't wait to eat after this. I'm eating and going to bed. Okay. And yes, Jennifer, vulnerability gets me every time. It really does. That vulnerability, in many cases, it will stop you. It will stop you from forward movement. And that is what we're here to get past, because this is all a part of life. All of these feelings, all these ups and downs. And we need tools and resources to fortify us for those moments that we stand in sometimes that we feel so vulnerable. Okay? So that is why this was important to me. I was listening to your feedback and you saying, how is it that I do these things? How do I get past these obstacles, these mental barriers it is that I have created for myself? How do I get beyond what's happened to me in my past? How do I move past my vulnerabilities? And so I kept hearing you say, yes. So I kept hearing you say to me in comments and private emails, even in this group here that we're on now in the private group, I hear you telling me that these things are happening, and opposed to me reaching out to people individually. I love getting together as a group because it really serves as a mastermind. We're exchanging from one to another. Right? Our ideas, our tips, our tools, techniques, our best practices, things that we can use to support each other. right? And I can guide you through that with this. So if this is working for you, definitely go ahead and hit that share button. If you're getting some value out of it, tell a friend, tell them about the page. Stop holding the information. You know, we like to share. You know, us women are a group, are a community, and we do well communing together, right? And building and growing. So hit that share button wherever you're viewing this from, even if you're on the replay. All righty? All righty. Exactly. You got it. All right. Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started officially at this week's topic. Alrighty, so let me do my introductions and we'll go from there. Hi, my name is Sherilyn Dorsey, and I am creator and founder of You're More Than Their Mother, and I teach entrepreneurial moms to reclaim, realign, and rebalance their lives and to go after their dreams. So this week we are in week 4, but we are on chapter 3 of the book, and it's entitled Putting First Things First. Now, if you haven't saw the chapters before this, I think they were pretty robust. Tell me in the comments if you've been here with me before. Hit me with a yes or hit me with a thumbs up or heart, something just quick, and let me know that you have been with me in this journey. Even if you haven't been able to watch it live, let me know if you've watched the replay. Let me know, and I will see from there. I want to know who I have in the room. Alrighty, so if you have been watching, yes, I see. Oh, yay. Okay, that was you, Kelly. Yeah. Okay, I see your thumbs up. So if you have been watching me for, if you haven't been watching and you want to catch up, simply hashtag YMTTMTV, or you can hashtag mom moments. Okay, and you'll be able to see all those backstories. They're only up for a certain amount of time, and then I am going to pull them down. I will be offering this as a package at a later date, so you are getting it free and first here. So use it and get the information while you can, for sure. But some great information there, and it really led us up to this, of putting first things first. Now, I had a nice reference here, a couple of references that I pulled from, and that really helped me to gain some perspective that serves me in my day-to-day life, as well as in my business, to help me to realize, if you will, that I am more than their mother, my children's mom, and I'm more than my husband's wife. I'm more than my parents' daughter. I'm more than my sister's sister and my brother's sister, and et cetera, et cetera. And one way that I stay rooted in that is by the basic understanding that I have to put first things first. I have to know what to prioritize, right? And the truth is, what I believe wholeheartedly, what I stand in and raise the flag on, is the fact that if you don't take care of you first, you are not solving a problem, you're creating a new one. Does that make sense? If you don't take care of you first, you are not solving a problem, you're creating a new one. So I believe in order to have an effective life, in order to live the life of your dreams, in order to have the self-esteem you want, in order to get beyond any mental obstacle it is that you have, in order to get beyond any physical obstacle that you have to adopt the mentality of me first. Now, I know that this goes without saying, but some people are viewing this for the first time. This is with the understood that we love our children. We love our families. We love our spouses and significant others and all of those things. So taking care of us first does not leave them by the wayside. Taking care of us first does not deplete them of their necessities or of their basic needs. We take care of that understood. Right? Are you with me on that? Go ahead and give me a heart or a thumbs up and let me know you're still with me. Of course we take care of that. But we know for certain that we can put some stuff that we've been pushing up and other people's needs, wants, and desires before ours. We know that we can put those on the back burner, and we don't always know how to do that. So this is your chapter if you need to figure out, how do I put me in the equation? How do I put myself on the list? How do I prioritize the things it is that need to get done and put first things first? So we are on page 30 of the book, and I want to read to you the first few sentences of this chapter. It simply says, I heard the most thorough explanation of this, the putting first things first, from a book written by Mr. Stephen Covey called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In sum, he urges the reader to distinguish between important activities and urgent activities and tend to them accordingly. Urgent means completion is critical, and important means getting it done really matters. Okay? Now, I had an opportunity, and this kind of the book goes into my personal explanation, but I had an opportunity to have a kind of aha moment after reading that. While I've read this book and kind of gone back and forth with it probably 5-6 years ago, I'm constantly picking it up, looking in it, reading it, annotating in it, things like that. And I'm always led to, when I pick it up, the exact thing I need to read and the exact information I need to see and hear at that moment. But it's not really until you have your own personal experience with something that it becomes internalized, it becomes real, and it becomes a tool. And what I want for you to do is to have you a tool to use as life continues to happen. So I had an opportunity to have an aha moment with this when it was something really simple with me. But what I understand about life is how you do anything is how you do everything. So it was important for me to recognize it in this moment that may be considered not so big, especially when I look back on this. But I realized that it dictates how I do everything, the things that I considered smaller, and now what I do on a larger level. So it was simply, I had to make a payment. And I needed to go to the bank, but I've made a commitment to work on my business at a certain time throughout the day, no matter what. So I can't schedule parents of, parent volunteering things. I cannot do things that, to go out to lunch with a girlfriend. I don't try not to meet with clients during that time. I try not to meet with prospective clients, I should say, during that time. I don't want to prospect. It's certain things that I do at certain times. And we'll talk more about that in time management. And I realized that in order to get done what I wanted to get done and to create the sense of fulfillment and accomplishment that I wanted, I needed to make it a priority over everything that it gets done. So this day came up. Well, before I go any further, tell me, have you had that experience? Have you had the experience where you realize you're kind of going in circles with something because you're putting everything else in front of it and you're allowing life to continue to interrupt you and break promises to yourself? Has that ever happened to you? I want to slow down a bit here and see if you are with me on that. Hey, Ariel, I see you joined me here. I apologize for that delay. Hey, where are you tuning in from? But tell me, has that happened to you? Have you done that, and are you still doing that? Right? Yes. Okay, Jennifer. Yes, I see you. Absolutely. It's happened. And then you look up and you set this date, this goal. You have this vision board. You have it on your to-do or task list, all of those things. And you look up and realize, wow, I'm 3 days away from my goal that I set to do this. Wow, I'm a week away. Wow, I'm a month away. I'm a year. I'm 5 years. Time just gets past you, and you create this vortex of basically, oh goodness, what do you call it when you don't complete? This vortex of emptiness, this vortex of depletion, if you will, because when you don't accomplish your goals, it shrinks you, right? Does that make sense? Hit me with a thumbs up or hearts. When you don't keep your commitments to yourself, you feel bad about it, right? And if you're feeling bad about something, if you feel shrunken, if you don't feel fulfilled, do you believe that it comes out on family members, on people who you talk to, just on a day-to-day basis, co-workers, your parents, your significant other? Does that make sense? Do you understand that that's how that happens? That's how that anxiety builds up. That's how that feeling of overwhelm builds up, because it doesn't go away, your desire to complete it. More things are added on to it. And now that's undone, and now you have a desire to do more. But it keeps you from moving forward because you feel like, I haven't even completed what I said I was going to do last week, last month, last year. So now these things are coming and piling up on you, and overwhelm is happening, right? But the reality is, all of that boils down to the fact that you did not put first things first. And that first thing is you. That's very hard, and often in many cases for a lot of moms to understand, because we kind of feel this level of guilt because we feel like, wow, my kids need me. My kids need for me to do this. My kids want. Well, absolutely, your children need things from you, A lot of things that we do for our children, a lot of things that we put in front of our priorities is due out of our own guilt. We are superimposing things that we feel bad about, things that we have not recovered from out of our past or childhood, and we're putting that on them. That's not their experience. Do you understand what I'm saying? Have you ever realized or stopped to think what you're doing and the things that you're doing for your children and other people, and the reason you're putting them first is because you are superimposing some deficit of your own on them because you don't want them to feel that way that you did. You don't want them to think a certain thing about you, when in reality that's something you're making up in your head. That's not their experience. Okay, but what will happen is it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they will begin to feel that way, right? And then it'll feel like for you, see, I told you. But you had a part in creating that. That's not what it was innately. Are you still with me on this? Okay, all of this boils down to putting first things first, right? And you understanding the reason that you can't put first things first, or the reason you are having a hard time of putting yourself in first place shoes is because, good, I'm glad you're getting it with me, Jennifer, is because you are holding on to something that no longer serves you. You're holding on to the contrast of what you want, opposed to the benefit of what you want. You're holding on to the contrast. So for example, let me use something very simple. If I say I don't want to be cold, it automatically goes that I want to be warm or hot, right? But instead of me saying I want to be warm, I enjoy the heat, I keep focusing on I don't want to be cold. I just don't want to be cold. And then I put that on my children. Here, put these clothes on, put this, that. But it's really my experience. I'm the one who had the issue with this, right? And of course, I'm not talking about literally. I just want you to be able to run parallel with that example metaphorically, with what it is I'm trying to reinforce you about putting first things first and not superimposing your issues onto anyone else, but to look at them, to call them out and to own them, and then to eradicate or neutralize or heal or get over or get through them in order to live the life of your dreams. So let me finish my example I started 5 minutes ago with you. Bottom line, I have this priority of how it is I conduct my workday. Because I am an entrepreneur, I have to create it all. I always tell people I am the CEO and janitor. So I have to make sure that I'm prioritizing properly and doing things that are producing money in my business, right? And I have to learn that and what it is and all that. But there is time that I have to set aside to do that. So with that being said, I had this bill that I needed to pay. So I thought about it and I said, oh, let me get out of here and let me go and pay this bill. Well, what would have happened is I would have interrupted the time that I was supposed to be working. And so I was ready to jump up and go. And then I had this aha moment. And I said, wait a minute. Let me ask myself, when is this bill due? Can I pay it after I've done my hours? Hey there, April. Thanks for joining in. Can I do this after I've completed the work hours I've set up for myself? Is this bill urgent? Hey, Melissa Renee, thanks for joining in. Is this something I have to do right now? Is it urgent or is it important? And what I realized was that, yes, it absolutely was important, but it wasn't urgent. It wasn't due that day. I could have done it and the business would have still been open after I finished my work day that I had set up for myself. I could have, I would have not received any penalty for if I didn't even get to pay it that day. Now, this is hugely important, and the reason I bring it up is because at top of mind, all I had on my mind was to let me go and pay the bill. I was rearranging priorities that really was not necessary. I was willing to put myself on the back burner for something that wasn't urgent. And what I'm telling you is how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I would do it in that case, imagine all the other areas of my life as I went through my mental Rolodex. Imagine all the other areas of my life that I've done that in. So now it's your turn, right? I want you to tell me, I want you to give me an example of a time where you've put somebody else in front of you when you should have been taking care of you. Something that was not urgent and could have been moved to a different place in your list of priorities. Give me an example of something that you've done that way. So true. Yes, Melissa, it is. It really is. And of course, I wonder, while you all are doing that, please type that in because I want to hear your feedback. While that example that I gave you, absolutely bills are important. Am I saying that we don't need to pay them, don't worry about a fee or anything like that? Absolutely not. We're rational people. We are ambitious and we take care of our business. We are entrepreneurial moms. So that's the you understood in the sentence, right? But what I am telling you is the whole scare around bill, right, makes me immediately shift and think, oh, I need to do this right now. Oh, I need to, without thinking strategically or rationally. I have a goal in mind. So I need to make sure the things that I am doing are conducive of manifesting that goal. So I have to stop and ask myself questions sometimes of things that in the past would have triggered me, let me get up. And see, I would have felt good for a moment. It would have felt euphoric because I'd have said, oh, I handled my business. But in reality, I didn't. All I had to do was complete what I was doing at the moment and then leave right out of there and go and take care of that. And then my business would have been handled. Even if I didn't take care of that bill that day, I still had a little bit of time before it would have become delinquent. So even if I didn't do that, I still would have handled my business. But if I had gone to pay the bill and not kept the commitment to myself, I would not have been handling my business. And I would not have been putting first things first, right? So give me some feedback, you all. I see you all on here, and let me know. For those of you who are watching the replay, put in an example for me of when you put yourself out of priority, of putting something else before you, something else that was important, not urgent, before something it is that you were doing, right? And while you're doing that, I'm going to mosey on to my little wrap-up part, okay? Alrighty? Alrighty. So I want to bring it home and give you a specific example that I put in my book. Put that in. I'm waiting for your comments and your feedback. But I put this in, and I'm on page 32, and it simply says, as mothers, we are always juggling our must-dos and the children's want-tos. The question is, are we giving them the best example possible by analyzing the situation and making a decision based on putting first things first? I know in my house, I stress and emphasize critical thinking. I stress and emphasize them. I always call it fleshing it out or peeling the layers of whatever it is that's going on around them. Because the moniker I tell them all the time is, I won't be with you all the time. Now, trust, when I get there, I've got you. But I got to get there. And you have to stabilize, neutralize, get safe in the situation until I do get there. But more importantly, try not to get in a situation, a sticky situation. And the only way you'll be able to do that is to analyze, is to make sure that you are putting first things first. So in this instance of how I use this example with my own children is, first of all, I do it for myself so that they can see the example in me of how to conduct their lives. But not only that, good, Jennifer, I'm glad that you're getting it. But then in addition to that, I want them to make sure that they value and trust their own feelings and emotions. I want them to understand that what they feel in the moment that they're in is the most important thing. Not what somebody else says is most important, not what somebody else jumps up and down and believes is most important. Don't buy into it. What you believe and what you feel for the moment that you're in is what's most important. It's the most urgent thing that you can tend to for that moment, and in many cases it will keep you out of situations that you don't want to be in. And that's the key for me and what I'm trying to teach my children, to be proactive versus reactive. And then my thought is always the longer vision of it, and that is, if my children go on to have children, if they choose to, I always tell them it's their choice, there's no written rule to this thing. If they choose to have children, I want them to be able to teach their children the same thing, because what they'll understand is that's empowerment. What they'll understand is time management and critical thinking skills for themselves. What they'll begin to understand is deductive logic and reasoning for themselves. What they'll do is learn to develop questions and strategies to get done what they want to get done by simply understanding that they matter them first. Right? Tell me if you're still with me. I didn't mean to go on a rant with that. I want to close it out with 3 critical questions. Everybody still with me? Hit me with a hearts or thumbs up and let me know we're here. And while you are doing that, hit the share button. And I tell you that all the time. But I want to see it shared. I want to see the information go out. And I want as many people to view this as it will serve. I call it forth every time, and that's my intention when I take a deep breath. And I know that the people who are here, you all are pretty committed. Yay, thanks, Jim. Yes, yay, you're still here, Melissa, thank you. You all are pretty loyal and committed to being here, so it tells me there's some value there. So if it's helping you, who else will it help? Share it out. Share it with a friend. So, alrighty, so let me wrap this up with 3 critical questions you should ask yourself before taking on any task. This will help you with understanding if or how to put first things first. Ask yourself, if a task come up, right, and you are doing something, and there's something that comes up, be it with your children, be it with your job, your employer, it doesn't matter what it is, right? This is what's important. You ask yourself, 1, is this important or urgent? Those are 2 different things. Get more into that in the book, right? So if you haven't bought it, buy it. If you have the book, go back to it. Again, I started on page 30. Just reread it and get a deeper understanding of the difference between urgent and important. Ask yourself that question before you take on anything, before you make any shift, before you readjust your day, right? Ask yourself that one. Number 2, is this in line with my highest values and goals? Not only is that a huge one for me, but again, like I tell you, I'm so serious about this with my girls. They're getting bigger now, and they understand this live philosophy because they have a mom in front of them that's doing it. Their dad does this. But what I want them to do is to get it for themselves. Isn't there a church song that goes, God bless the child that has his own? That has way more to do with material things than money. That's the whole package, right? That's the whole package, life tools, right? I believe in that to the core of me. And I want them to be empowered women as they walk out of my door and walk through the hallways of our home, right? And I want to, if any question does not come back affirmative, once you ask yourself, is this in line with my highest values and goals? Don't do it. Don't readjust. Don't stop what you're doing and start doing something else. Don't add to anything that does not serve that intention you have for yourself and that goal that you've set for yourself. Alrighty, the last one is number 3. What adjustments will I need to make if I take on this task? Right? Because you may have a commitment to yourself, and it may be in line, and of course, it's in line with your highest goals and values. But if you take on something else that someone else asks you or tells you you need to do, you need to look at the long-term effects or ramifications of what you're doing and see how will you have to readjust what it is that you're doing. And I'll use this as an example to make it even more clear. The example that I just told you about, me going to the bank, and me going to pay that bill. With me going to pay that bill, excuse me, and I asked myself and figured out I would have to readjust and try to come back and make up time, which of course you can't do, to get done what I needed to get done for the day and all that kind of stuff. And I realized this was not congruent with my values for the day and the goals it is that I have for the day. I realized that the adjustments that would have needed to be made were not worth me making that decision in that moment. I needed to keep myself as the priority or as the first thing in order for me to accomplish the goal it is that I have for myself. Right? So you still with me? You understand that? Tell me how we doing here on that. Give me some feedback about your feelings. Good? Great? Amazing? You tell me. You tell me how it is. Alrighty. Well, listen, that has been amazing. While you're typing that in, I will look for that, for your responses. Please go ahead and feel free, even after this broadcast, and to put in your responses. I do look at this, and I follow every week up and go a little bit deeper into the topic in what I call Friday's feelings. I want to hear how you're feeling about what it is that we talked about. And I do that on a Friday, hence the name Friday's Feelings. I do that on a Friday to kind of wrap up our week and to give us some momentum to go into the weekend. I try to start us off with this, but listen, life happens in between Monday and Friday, doesn't it? But the lessons that we learn in these weekly talks and this free training here that we're doing is that we can choose to show up in the world a different way. We can make another decision. We understand that we have a choice. We know that we need to put ourselves first, right? We understand these things, and we're doing it daily, every day. We make the concerted effort to fully realize ourselves every single day, to fully realize ourselves every single day. So, alrighty, I will look forward to your comments. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing this out. I appreciate your emails and your comments. I appreciate everything it is that you're doing, and I'm glad to know that this is helping you and is of service to you. I will look forward to you joining me next time. But until we see each other again, remember, it's time to move beyond everyone else's expectations of who you ought to be and become the woman you thought that you could be. Bye.